With Simpson selling his patterns, I know that people were complaining about the high prices of patterns when he was out competing to buy coins. Now that he's out of the picture, what do you think is going to happen to pattern prices in general?
I expect it. Well, it's always a question of whether to buy something in these big sales or not, because some of the coins you see still in the market, when they come back, they do sell for a lower price. But the Bass coins, almost every Bass coin sold for a record price just now. I know they've been off the market 50 years, but that doesn't necessarily justify the price that they, realized. So we'll have to see what happens in the next sale. But the coins sold for, for phenomenal prices. Eric Newman's, when his patterns went off, they've also, they sold high because they've been off the market since basically since the 1940s when he and B.G. Johnson were handling the Colonel Green collection. So those patterns were off the market for for 70, 80, for 75 years maybe. I forget the exact date of the Newman, so it's 1913 maybe. So whenever patterns like that come off, they'll from that have been off the market for a long time, they'll sell for high prices. But they might not sell for as much if they hit the secondary market later. And that's true of a lot of rarities, not just the patterns. But sometimes you pay a premium for them coming on the market today. First time, even some of these gold coins from the Bass sell, we'll have to see if they hit the secondary market again in a resale in 2 years. Will they bring the price they brought on the Bass sale? Probably not, because maybe there's competition for it.
Well, if record prices are being paid, that means that there are some people out there that
money.
Yeah, they got money and they're interested in patterns. That's pretty good. Are you aware of any like secret collectors that are working right now on anything?
I know people that collect not the broadness of Simpson. I know people that collect like 1877 half dollars or specialize in certain items. But beyond that, no. I don't know anyone that's trying to do anything as broad as what Mr. Simpson had done with 1,500 patterns. That's he almost had a complete judge book on his own, which is absolutely incredible in today's today's market. But even for him, there's certain coins he liked more because he would buy duplicates and triplicates of some of the ones he liked. If you go, he liked obviously he liked the Amazonian coins from 1872 because he had multiples of the coins in silver and copper. Some of the 1877 half dollars he had multiples of in silver and copper as well. So which is rare. It's one thing to have only one of each. He had multiples of some of them. So and some of it maybe I don't know if that was done to protect the market. If I don't know if people remember, but from when the Polk family bought the 1804 dollar from the one that was from the Waters collection that ultimately went for they spent like $4 million. The Dexter coin came up and they bid on that one too. Now I don't know if they really expected to win that, but they won it anyhow because I think they were bidding to protect the price the first one bought. But then they got done, they made money on both, so they can't complain. But the point, because that's what the market does. But sometimes it's not a bad thing to protect the price of coins.
Last time we talked, we had a short conversation about the collection at the Connecticut State Library. Tell us your experience with that.
I went there about 20 years ago to see what what I had to get and basically see what was there. Because I had an inventory listing of it that was old, but all those coins are still there, which is a good thing, for the most part. But it's one of the things I did to I said I maintain a photo library of most of the rarer patterns, that I can. But one of the gaps I have is the Connecticut State Library. A lot of coins are imaged on specific sites. Some people have images from other museums that I was missing. Like Tom Levani has a lot of images from the Smithsonian, so I was able to get some images of some of the Smithsonian pieces that I didn't, put on the website because I did this for my own use and research and stuff. But and the Byron Reed collection and at Omaha, Nebraska, I was able to get pictures of. The ANS is online, so you can browse their patterns. But the Connecticut State Library has probably 150 patterns, and some of them are very rare. And those are some of the things I track. I'm and maintain library of. I don't have images of those, so we need to get images of those up somehow. And I've emailed them. They haven't replied to try to arrange for them to be digitized or whatever the case may be. Even if they put up on their own website, that's fine with me. So, but I need about 50 patterns that they have to be imaged, just for my own personal maintenance of the rarer coins. It's one
How
of the
do
things I
you
do.
how do you
Just track all
record
that.
your stuff? You're a computer guy. Is it on spreadsheet? How do you record your stuff?
The I have some things on spreadsheets. I have some. The photo library is literally a Word document for that specific pattern with its image and its pedigree. Almost like keeping a conditioned census of everything. I have that. And one day, if I ever bring my computer to a show that you're at, I'll show it to you.
Oh, I'd love to see it. Yeah.
For example, like there are 15 schoolgirls. I have the pedigree and the image of all 15 of them.
Wow.
For example, all the silver ones. Just like that. And same for the Amazonians and for the shield earring patterns. And I haven't tried to do that for the extra high reliefs. That would be interesting to do. But a lot of them are museums. That's always prohibitive. But they all look alike. Then some coins are better to do that with. Copper coinage is easy to do that with. Because, they tend to look different. Sometimes the quality of an image makes it harder to see the differences. But generally speaking, silver and copper you can do that. Aluminum's hard too sometimes. But sometimes the quality of the images aren't as good. But I track a lot of the rarity 8 patterns. I have all the 1792 pieces, imaged. All the birch cents, all the silver center cents, all those I have images of. For example.
So you're also a tremendous researcher. I know that you track provenances all the way back. What got you into that? Because that's a really advanced level of collecting and research.
I started collecting a library like in the late 90s. I actually started buying I got the old plated catalogs and stuff. I ended up selling that later once the Newman portal came up, because once it was online, I didn't really need to keep it. Also with the books today, they're taking up a lot of space. I live in an apartment. I could show you if you want a good laugh. I'll just show you this just for the fun of it, of how I have catalogs. I don't know if you can see it. Hopefully you can see it. Can you see this all stacked up?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Just for the fun of it. That's all those books here that you see. That's a stack of modern books. So just for the fun of it, I just wanted you to see that.
Oh my gosh.
I ran out of library space.
Yeah.
Shelf space.
How many catalogs did you have at one time, and books?
I had catalogs going back all the way from the 1851 Roper sale. That's how far back then. And those are small. Those don't take up a lot of space. I had a very good Bolender run. Had a complete run, almost a complete run of Woodwards and Chapmans, including some of the rarer sales, which aren't even coin related. And I sold them. I sold them all via Carl Moulton, and some of them went to Martin Logies from the Cardinal Foundation, and the rest, Carl kept for himself or for inventory. And I used that money to actually buy patterns. And the funny thing is, I went to buy a specific. I actually sold that to buy a specific pattern. I never wanted anyhow. Simpson bought it. I thought that's just for someone want to have a laugh on that.
Yeah.
And that was for a Judd. It was for a Judd 1338, which is one of those 1873 half eagles that I told you I liked. That was a copper one from the Bergen cell. Was the only one has any nice, had nice color. He ended up paying like 40 grand for that, which at the time was crazy, but maybe not today. So it's funny, but I saw, even today there's people still buying the books. People still like to have the books in hand, But for me, it's easier to do the, to go online to the Newman portal. And for me, the best thing that they did is they put the brand journals online, because I had actually gone to the A&S and gone through the Virgil brand journals. People don't know these are folio-sized books that are about 2.5 inches thick, and there's like 23 of them. And I went and the binders are like powder. That's how dried out they are. But they put that all online, and for me, that's a godsend. Because then I could go through all that stuff, and I highlighted all the patterns that I found in that, and put them actually up on the portal on spreadsheets. I put up most of the brand rarities that are U.S. related that I have some expertise in.
What are the brand journals? What are they?
When Virgil Brand purchased coins from 1889 to 1926, he literally wrote down every coin he purchased in the journal. And it went from basically from like number 1 to like 130 or 40,000 line items of data. How much he had bought. People, he was an eclectic buyer, in some cases, but in the way he purchased, but everything is noted. In some cases, if he bought a collection, he would put one line in that journal, and then he would have a sub-journal, what we call subledger, and write them in there. But he purchased some of the greatest collections of his time and like I said, the things that he collected, are phenomenal, just phenomenal. But he never tried for completeness. He wasn't trying to. He didn't care about mint marks, for example, for the most part. Although he did have some of the rarer things. He had an 1838 half dollar, for example. For someone who's not really collecting by that, he had CC coinage, but there's three uncirculated 1871 CC quarters. He owned two of the three that are known today, for example. But he never tried for completeness in that regard. He bought an 1876 CC 20-cent piece because he bought Dr. Hall's collection, and Dr. Hall happened to have one from I forgot the guy's first name, was from Page, when he bought Page collection in 1895, which significantly helped Dr. Hall's collection of coinage, colonials and things that he was interested in. And then Brand bought that. So sometimes you get things by accident.
So he would just buy entire collections, and
if things Dr. Hall had phenomenal, large cents and things like that, which were interesting at the time. The only thing I haven't figured out is how the DeWitt Smith's collection got broken up, because DeWitt Smith had a phenomenal collection of also of colonials and large cents and half cents, and he had gold dollar patterns, which that he collected and things like that, but not a lot of gold. Brand bought all the hard time tokens, he had gold dollars and $3 runs complete and high grade and things like that, and mostly proof. But even then he put gold dollar collections. He didn't really collect double eagles. He didn't really collect eagles for the most part, but he had one of each date. He didn't care about mint marks. And phenomenal gold proof coinage he had. He was buying proof sets, from the 1890s onward. He would buy 10 $2.50 gold pieces, and then maybe $5, but only buy like 110 and 120. He didn't collect a lot of those. But Brand had the most complete collection of proof gold of anyone outside of Trump. Trumper had the most complete his was basically complete from 1858 on. But Brand's was probably second to that. He was missing like maybe 10 or 11 coins from having a complete run of proof set. And he had multiples of some of the smaller denominations. Like 1858 gold dollars, he had like 10 of them. People don't realize, that rare coin, he owned the majority of them. He owned like 16 1876 $3 gold pieces in proof. He owned 40 in Stellas. He owned in between for the $4 gold patterns. He owned in all metals. He owned over 40 of them over his lifetime. He had two complete sets. Gold, copper, and aluminum. At least two complete sets.
So you're rattling this stuff off like you have a photographic memory. What's going on?
I have a good memory for that and for pictures. That's why I keep the photo library. I don't forget things if I've seen them for the most part. It's not quite photographic, but I don't forget things if I've seen it.
So Brand's collection as well as he did. I mean, probably better than anybody living today.
No, David Tripp probably knows it better than I do. He's another one that has gone through the Brand journals, and there are other people that have as well. But for the American coinage that I understand, like I don't know colonials well. I tried to document that. Again, I have. If you go to the Brand, you'll find a whole bunch of things that look like spreadsheets, because there are Excel. I did like 8 of them. I did it for some of the what I call the rarities, which is one for his early gold. As far as it wasn't complete. There was some gold he's missing in the early stuff, but he had most of each date. He may not have he didn't have a 1798 small eagle 5, for example. Or he was also missing like a 1797, I think like a 15 star. He had 2 16 stars, but he never had a 15 star, for example, 5. So there's gaps in there, even though we had an 1822. But if you go through that, you'll see there's, and he had multiples of a lot of them, not necessarily in high grade, but a lot of them were.
And where do you say these spreadsheets are available?
They're on the Newman portal. I'll send you links to them after the meeting.
Okay, yeah, I'll put those below so that other people can see them. Well, that's a tremendous amount of work. I mean, how many man hours have you spent going through those journals?
I went through those journals multiple times, one at a time, documenting them. Because sometimes, believe me, it's easy to make mistakes too. It's not an easy thing to go through. But I like I said, I'd gone through them by hand in a day. Like I said, over 20 years ago. And then when they put them online, I went back to that and started creating that. I'm trying to get a Colonel Green appraisal online, so I can do the same thing there. This Colonel Green's appraisal is even bigger. It's a bigger folio thing, but it's not 23 volumes. It's one big volume, to go through, because that's interesting too. People don't realize, like, Brandt had 10 1794 So Colonel Green had 11. So
In these journals, do they record their sources? Like who they
yeah,
bought them from?
yeah,
Uh-huh.
for the most part. Sometimes you'll have a price. Sometimes you bought like you won't find prices for things like if you go like to the DeWitt Smith section because he paid like let's say $60,000 for the entire thing. It's not individually priced in there. But if he bought at auction, for example, the lot number's there, the auction he bought it from is there. If he bought it from, who he bought it from is there. It's all listed.
Is
All
that true
told.
for Colonel Green also?
I don't know if Colonel Green has, I don't remember if it had prices. That's more like a 13-column spreadsheet.
Are you talking about the FCC Boyd appraisal of the
Yeah.
Green collection? Yeah.
Yeah, there's two of those, his and one other one, but they're also more like, they're all like 13-column spreadsheet, but his was done differently. The Colonel Green appraisal says like, here's a 1795 half eagle, and it'll show like 5 in VF, 6 in XF, and you went across like that, and then you see like 60 at the total. But
Yeah.
there's no dollar amount. I don't remember a dollar amount being to the side that Boyd actually said, okay, that's worth, $500 or whatever, 60 or whatever the case may be. I don't remember that part of it. I wasn't interested in that. But if you go through the sections, you'll find it's the volume, the sheer volume of coins that he had, is just amazing.
It was nice to have money back then, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, it's also interesting to figure out what you didn't have. When a person has 60, 17, you had 60, 17, 95 half eagles. And a lot of them, from the newcomer collection, obviously, so he had almost every known variety at the time. But the rest of it is, it's just amazing. But he only had 2 1815 half eagles.
Speaking of newcomer, he's one of my favorite, collectors that, most people haven't heard of because his collection was never sold at auction. What's your experience with the newcomer inventory? Because that's a pretty important document.
I got a copy of that from John Danruther, who you did one of these with. Because John Ford had in his library had listings of the inventories from that, and they literally put a listing of what he put together. Most of that was sold via Raymond in 1932, and he started selling it off piecemeal. Now some of those coins from Newcomb went to Colonel Green. Some of them may have gone other places. But some of them actually went to Lenox Law, believe it or not, in the 40s. And so, but I can't find any invoices, so I've been looking for them, but I can't. The Newman portal doesn't show anything of his purchases, but that's interesting in and of itself too. But there was some coin, some of the 1792 coinage that Law had can be traced directly to Newcomer, and I don't know if Colonel Green had them. Although, like I said, I did find the birch cent and things like that, and the 2 1792 silver dimes. 2 of the 3 came from that, and the third one was DeWitt Smith's. That went to Brand. But there's some controversy about that too. But we'll have to figure that out too. If you go through some of the Arm and Brand's papers, you can see how they started dispersing that collection. If you go through the Newman portal, you can look at the B.G. Johnson invoices, how he consigned things, and they would take basically. If Arm and Brand sent stuff to B.G. Johnson, he would put them in a list, ship it, consign it, send it to Stack, send it to B-Max Mel, send it to Boyd, see what they would buy. It's a very, and then the same thing with Colonel Green stuff. Things would be returned. They'd show when they, it was an interesting way of doing things. They bulk them out to other dealers and see what they could sell, whether it was American or foreign.
What do you think is the future of the pattern market as it sits today?
Well, it looks good. I know that, I always watch to see if I can, who's buying. It's just harder today because people are home. It's not, like I said, it's not like people going to auctions and you can sit down and watch people bid anymore. For the most part, they're bidding by phone or you have a person's buying. Legend still has a collector who's buying patterns. I know other people who are buying specific areas of patterns, but if the price is going to stay like the Bass sell, then patterns will do fine. It's like anything else. They have one advantage over other coins. Actually two. One, they're rare for the most part, so you're getting a coin that's rare. And 2, they're in high grade. So there's less nonsense about is it a 63 or 64? There's only 3 of them. You don't have to worry about that as much. It's not as big a deal as unlike buying a, I don't know, even if you're buying even a 1892 West Morgan dollar, there's probably 30 or 40 uncirculated out there. Some of these patterns you can't find 30 or 40 of, period.
Yeah, it's one of those deals where if I gave you $1 million and said go out and buy these coins, they're not available.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to somebody who is interested in starting out collecting patterns? What path should they take?
First thing to do is buy the book, buy a Judd book. You know, I recommend getting the most current version and the 7th edition versions, because those are the two to have. Those are the cleanest versions that are out there. Find out what you like, and you know, literally, because it's too broad for the average person to collect. Unless you have Simpson money, you can't, you know, you say, oh, I'm gonna, you know, or Delroy Hansen money. You're not gonna build a collection that's, you know, for the most part, that's gonna, you know, you have to focus on something. And basically, what I tell persons, find out what pattern you like. That's the first thing to do. But, you know, if there's a design you like or something, and obviously that matters too, what you can afford. But find a section you like, and start there. Because there are people that collect, like I said, they collect. Some people collect like 1877 $half. Those are expensive. You know, they're going to cost you $20,000, $30,000 for a nice copper one, and maybe $50,000 to $60,000 for a silver one. So if you're looking at that, you've got to realize that you're going to be paying that, you know, those kind of prices for those kind of items. But there are patterns that are affordable. Find it, you know, there was a guy named like Wayne Wilcox, was a pattern collector. He collected nickel 5-cent nickel patterns. Now those you can make a nice collection of at an affordable, you know, for more, you might not get the super rarities, but you can certainly make a nice broad collection of 5-cent nickel patterns. You know, and there's a lot of them, you know, for a few $1,000s each, you know, and you can make a nice broad collection of that. You know, there are other people who try to collect 2-cent patterns. So it's only a short little series, or 20-cent patterns, but 20-cent patterns are very expensive. And so are the 2-cent ones, to be honest, because they have a very short lifespan of when they were struck. Basically, the 3-cent patterns, you know, you had one in 1850. Then you have to go, then you go back basically to where they, you know, to where they started collecting today. You know, I mean, a lot of them are die trials, but there's a few items that you could get that are nice. But you know, if you keep your focus narrow, you'll make a nice collection. Remy Bourne and his son have a nice collection of 3-cent patterns, for example. And there's others. You know, that Denali collection that was, I guess, someone from Alaska had a lot of 1870 coinage, but it also had 2-cent, 3-cent patterns in it when it was sold to Legend. So you know, there's ways to narrow your focus. You know, if you're a, you know, a tyrant collector, or you know, a Delroy Hansen, you can spread out more. You know, or find, you know, something that you can do. But you know, you're literally at that point. If you want to do what Dr. Wilkinson had, you better have $100 million that you're willing to spend, because that's what it's going to cost to rebuild that collection today. Would cost that much money of what he had. So you know, you've got to be smart on how you're collecting. You know, you can't. The time is not. It's not like when the days when Harry Bass was collecting his patterns and he was buying a schoolgirl dollar for $1,000. You know, those days are gone. You know, you're to get a nice, you know, if you want to proof 65 or a better school, you're going to spend over $100,000 for that coin alone. So you have to, you know, be aware of what you're spending. And patterns, just like anything else, it's not necessarily rarity. It's what people like. And there are a lot of unique patterns you can buy that are literally unique, but then they're not going to cost you $100,000. But if you want a gem schoolgirl dollar or a gem Amazonian dollar, there may be a dozen of them, but you're going to pay through the nose together because they're popular, because they're beautiful. A lot of people like the aesthetics of some of the patterns because they think they're nicer looking than the patterns than the regular coinage that's out there. Those are not necessarily the rarest of the coins, but they're the most popular.
Yeah, so it's like Stella, the $4 Stella. That's one of the most common pattern coins ever made, and yet it's one of the most valuable.
Yeah, here's a good left. One of the most valuable coins in the world is the extra high relief, right? 20. That's like, from a gold pattern perspective, that's common.
Yeah, there's like what, 19 known or something.
Yeah,
yeah,
thereabouts. And the point is that's one of the most outside of the literally outside of a $4 Stella and some 1851 gold dollar patterns. That's the most common gold pattern there is. It's going to the Bass coin was great at PCGS 69. It's going to sell what, $4 or $5 million, and it's not, from a pattern perspective, it's not rare. And to be honest, every pattern in my collection is rarer than that.
You're right. That is one of the most desirable coins. You said it yourself. You want one. So
it's aesthetically beautiful. It's nice to have a metallic looking coin. You know, it's a shame they can't make that even for collectors today. It'd be nice to redo that. They made the little you know, when they made a pattern of that same coin pretty much, but eagle sized. There's only two known of that are both in the Smithsonian. And basically they made a 1 ounce gold coin for us that way, But, can you imagine actually making, a true high relief coin like that? Even if they made 10,000 of them to sell by the mint, they would go out, they would sell they would sell those out immediately if they made a coin like that today.
Well, I'm gonna make you drool a little bit. Years ago, when they took the Lily collection down at the Smithsonian, I was part of the group that assisted with that. And we put together a tray. Andy Lustig was there. We put together a tray of the highlights of the collection, including the two $50 unions you're talking about, the small diameter ultra high reliefs, the 1794 pattern in copper, the dollar. And we, we kind of looked at each other and say, this tray is worth, they're like 25 or 30 coins on this tray is worth over $100 million.
Yeah, 4920 to that, easily.
Yeah, 4920 is there. And that was one of the highlights of my career. And now you can't see them. Some of them are on display, but some of them are in the vault. And, unless you get a special trip in there, you can't see them.
Yeah, but at least the Lily collection's digitized. It's
online.
I'd like to. The cost is, like I said, I need to get the Connecticut State Library to digitize, but it's hard to get these, the museums don't have a lot of money either. COVID didn't help them either.
Yeah, COVID did not help. Yeah.
As far as getting museums to show that stuff. But I agree, those coins should be out, at least the 49 and the half unions are, they're on my website.
If you can't see the real coin, go to uspatterns.com and see the picture. Well, Saul, thank you very much for the interview. Fascinating stories, and I hope to see more of your work in the future. Keep up the good work. I mean, it's really incredible what you've done, and I really appreciate all your efforts.
Thanks a lot. Take care and be well.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.